Hey, welcome everybody to Wisdom Wednesday. We are so glad that you have joined us. We're so glad that you're jumped on. Hopefully you got your best beverage with you. Maybe it's a coffee, maybe it's a tea, maybe it's a martini, maybe it's a beer, maybe it's something I don't even know how to pronounce. As long as you got something with you and you got it with you so we can all have a simultaneous sip. But I've just realized something. I don't even have a beverage myself. It's all the way in the fridge. I normally drink cold stuff. I'm not the biggest coffee drinker in the world, but I do like a cup of coffee. So as you guys can see, if you guys I don't know already, Mr. Pat Patterson has he's actually out for the count. All right. And Pat is one of those guys that absolutely hates to miss a Wisdom Wednesday. But the thing is, Pat's in a tremendous amount of pain. So we want to ask you to please send your prayers and thoughts to Pat so he can get a speedy recovery. I know he's taken a whole bunch of narcotics and some muscle relaxants. Look at me. I can't even say the word mush. I'm saying muscle relaxants, and I feel like I've taken some. But, he's in a lot of pain right now. So please forgive him. He can't make it today, and we completely understand. I know what it's like to be in pain myself. I mentioned this a while back, and I don't know if anybody knows this, but I was the youngest person in history to get a spinal fusion at around about 10 years old. I was 10 years old when I had my first spinal fusion. I fell off a bunk bed, all right? To this day, I cannot sleep on a bunk bed, all right? I remember later on going to camps, and there were these huge bunk beds of like 7 or 8 bunks up there, and I just chose the bottom one because I fell off and I broke my back in such a way that I could walk, but I was walking at an angle. And if it weren't for the fact that I didn't go to hospital because my mother saw me walking weird, I probably would have ended up in a wheelchair for the rest of my life. So I know what it's like to be in a lot of pain. And, Pat's had a couple of surgeries, so I'm sure he's feeling it. And the last thing he wants is to actually go into hospital and get that again. So please keep your thoughts and prayers with him. Go to his wall, send him a message, a message for a speedy recovery. I'm sure he would appreciate that. And, it's just me and Katie on here today. Dr. Wade runs his own clinic, and he probably will be jumping on anytime soon. I know he sent us a message that he'll get you as soon as possible. But with that being said, I want to hand it over to Katie and find out how she is doing today, because I know she's just been to a major event at Ray Higdon. Katie, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. I have my drink right here. I'm just shaking it up, and lo and behold, is just water. Okay, just water. And not vodka, that's water. But anyways, we just came back from a Ray Higdon event. If you guys don't know who Ray Higdon is, he's just a big blogger guy. Built his business on the internet with using his blog, and I think it's pretty cool. Right down to earth guy. Speaking of down to earth guy, about Pat. So, Pat, if you're watching this replay, we just wish you a speedy recovery. We wish you were here. I tried to get a pink coat or a scarf or something pink in your honor for today, but I'm a tomboy and I don't own any colors. So what I would like to say is that I want to say hi to everybody in the comments. There's Maria, there's Don, and there's David, and then there's Pops. Want to say hi to Betty. So hi everybody. So if you're in the comments and you're watching this, you haven't really commented before, all you have to do is click on, you start commenting, and I believe, and when you hit enter, it'll prompt up this little screen to say either log into Facebook, to Chat Wing. Is it Chat Wing? What's it called? Oh wait, yeah, Chat Wing. And then or Twitter or whatever platform that you have. And if you don't have a profile picture, you can just put one in there or make a funny one or something. I don't know. But anyways, say hi in the comments. We love to see people in the comments and say hi and talk to you. So we'll give you a shout out.
Absolutely.
In the studio.
Absolutely. And I gotta say, Dave Broden is there. He comes on every time we're there. We want to say hello to you, buddy. And if anybody else, Don Sears, I know Katie just said hello to everybody on there. And we're really honored that you have joined us, but we're more honored that you would, say hi to us in the comments so we can give you a good shout out. We love it when you ask questions. We love it when you, can participate in what we have to say. And today we're talking about a subject which is it's kind of a very serious one. And as you can read in the heading of this particular webcast, it says, if I can just read it, if there's no magic formula, then why does this work? Now, I want to tell you guys a little bit of a story of what happened to me on Saturday, just so you guys know what's been happening. A lot of you know that I've been time out for a couple of days because a tree fell over and knocked my internet completely out. If you walk outside this house and you can actually see the pictures on my Facebook wall, there is a picture of a huge tree. It's a wild fig tree, and it grew to such a degree that it became so heavy on the one side of the bank, and it fell over. And it was due to a lightning strike that happened about a week ago. And what's interesting, on Friday evening, we all heard a huge bang. We heard this humongous bang. It was crazy. I didn't know what it was. We thought like a gunshot had gone off or something. It was crazy. We went outside, nothing, couldn't see anything. There was no alarms, but that was that. And then on Sunday at about 3:30, 3:45, I just heard this huge smash on the ground. We went outside and the tree had fallen over and knocked my phone line completely out, spark out. It had gone. There was nothing. And the size of this tree, it was quite funny. I had a wheelbarrow. Is that what you guys call it there, a wheelbarrow? Do you guys call it a wheelbarrow in America?
Yep.
Okay, we had a wheelbarrow upside down, kind of drying off at the bottom, and this tree had fallen flat on it. So this wheelbarrow is flattened. It's like a pancake, and completely took out the phone line. Now, as you guys know, I live in South Africa, and we have one company that distributes the entire infrastructure for telephone lines and internet in this country. We have one company that does it. The name of the company is called Telkom, and Telkom unfortunately runs the entire country. And I say unfortunate because if there's one problem, now they've got to disperse people to go and fix the problem. Now, I have had a fault on my line for about 2 months, and I had sent out requests to get it fixed 2 months ago. And every time I call, I get the same response. No one has been assigned to your problem yet. So now I'm freaking out because I'm thinking, gee, if they haven't responded now, what are the chances they're going to come and fix my line? So the only thing that I can do is to log a fault with Telkom online. And ironically, I don't have any internet, but I can buy a little bit of data. Data is very expensive in this country. So I bought some data, and I managed to log a fault with the company. Now, typically speaking, when you log a fault, they'll get back to you whenever they get back to you. And I wasn't expecting them to get back to me at all. So I went to the next level. I decided that this was not good enough. I was going to do everything in my power to make sure that Telkom knew I had a problem. So what I did is I remember last year I had 2 technicians that came over here, and they gave me their number. And these weren't even the fault logging people. These were just the technicians that get dispatched after reading the fault. And I sent both of them a message telling them the problem. So that was 2 people I contacted. Then I did a bit of calling around or looking on my phone, and I found somebody who was a regional manager, used to be inside of Telkom, and I managed to contact her. And I gave her a call on my cell phone, and I told her the problem. Of course, my phone time ran out, so I couldn't find anymore. But I told her the problem, and she said, we can't do anything on the weekend. Perhaps somebody can get to it on Monday, but she would do what she could. So I contacted her. Then on this Monday, I went out to the mall, to the walk-in store, of a store that doesn't even attack the problem that I'm doing, and I made them know what the problem was. And I contacted some other people. I even sent out an email connected with my phone on my computer, I sent out an email to a subsidiary company, not even connected to Telkom, because I know they work together, the electricity company and Telkom. The electricity company does all the electricity in the whole of South Africa, and they work closely with Telkom. So I sent them a big letter explaining the situation and if they had some influence. And honestly, I don't know what the heck I could do after that. I tried to contact, and let me tell you something. The next day, I was out. I took my mom shopping. She wanted to go shopping, and I get a call from home, and it's Bruno telling me, Telkom are at your door. And I thought, wow, that was quick. In one day, they contacted me. So I rush back home. I get over here, and I speak to Telkom, and I say to the guy, how did you find me? What happened? He says, I'm not even supposed to be working in this area, but I was in the area. I saw a fault, and I decided to go and check it out. He just came out of the blue. He wasn't even assigned to that particular case. He just took it upon himself to look at the faults in the area because he was passing by, and he came around to my area. Now, there's a very important lesson in this, and I want to share that with everybody. And this is the idea of commitment. All right, you have to understand that, let's just say I had a couple of ways of connecting to the internet and my phone line went down. All right, my phone line went down, but I still had ways of connecting to the internet. I would still probably log a fault, but then I would have left it. There was no sense of urgency. There was no sense of me going out to try and find an extra way to get that problem solved. But because I was in a dire straits situation, because it was my only connection to the internet, I couldn't watch YouTube. I couldn't go live. I even had Katie run my Monday mastermind that I have on Monday because I couldn't make it. I could only do little things like write some emails or post a little bit on my Facebook wall, that sort of thing. Because I didn't have a huge sense of it. Because I had a sense of urgency, I went out and I went out of my way to solve the problem. And now, in your particular situation where you are trying to start a business online, or you are trying to get something done, all right, I need you to understand that the magic formula for you to actually get it done is a sense of commitment. But everybody will tell you in some form of way that they are committed, all right? You're committed to this, you're committed to that. But when you start a business online, it's a special type of commitment. There needs to be a switch that is flipped. There needs to be something at the back of your mind that flips, where you can actually say to yourself, I'm in a dire straits situation. I'm at the worst of the worst. I have no other option. I don't want to be in the same situation I am now in 5 years' time. I don't want to be in the same situation I am now in 10 years' time. Because ultimately, that is what moves you forward. That is what gets you going. You see, Katie, with the 37 jobs in 17 years, she has worked all of these jobs in 17 years. And I can imagine, I'm sure Katie would tell you the same thing, that she got to a state where she just didn't want to do the same thing over and over and over again and be in the same situation she was in so many years. The same with Pat, right? We all know Pat's story with that traumatic event that he went through. Everything was taken away from him. Everything physically was taken away from Pat. His career was taken away. You know, physically, most of the things he could do was taken away. Everything was taken away from Pat. And he was in a situation where he needed to flip that switch. And quite often, we're in a state of complacency. We're in a state of, we can't move forward because everything is kind of okay. And that's why we need to change the way that we think and start moving in a direction and realizing, you know what, if I carry on working in the same way I am now, I'm going to be in the same place in 5 years' time. And this is why when you say you're going to be committed to something, you need to change something drastically in your life. You need to start doing things that are over and above. Like when I contact all of those people to sort out my problem with my internet connection, All I really needed to do was contact one person. And I guarantee you that Telcom just got back to me now. They just sent me a message on Twitter that said, "Oh, we see that you are connected. Is your modem working okay?" Which tells me that they haven't even seen the fault. It hasn't even gone through the proper channels. But because I decided I was going to work in a way that was extraordinary, completely different to everybody else, I contacted at least 8 to 10 people to get my problem solved. I did something that most people wouldn't do, because typically speaking, if your phone line is out, you just make you kind of contact one medium, and you get the problem sorted out whenever they can. But because I was in a dire straits situation, I sorted it out. Now I need to ask you this question, and I want you to listen to me very, very carefully. Are you in a dire straits situation? And typically speaking, you might think you're not, right? Typically speaking, you might think, well, everything's kind of okay. I'm kind of getting money in every month. So you need to do something. You need to make it a dire straits situation and start doing things that not normally anybody would do. Maybe, Katie, you can speak to this a bit about the fact that how the drastic changes you made in your life to make your business work. I mean, look at you right now. You're traveling all over the United States in an RV with your dad. I mean, that's an amazing thing. But I'm sure you got there because you did radical things to change in your life, right?
Well, here's the thing about how my brain works. It's incredibly difficult to separate my brain to have a job and build a business at the same time. And I know that in this industry, we want to say you have to have a job in order to fund your business. But for me, it was completely distracting for me. So this is what I had to do is I get this term from Eric Worre, who is a network marketing pro, this big guy, right? But he talks about having a primary and a secondary. And what happens where people get stuck is that they get the primary and secondary kind of switched, the primary, they'll say, okay, I have a 9-to-5 job, or I have this career, but I want to have something on the side. And they have that as the secondary. But say if you have someone who wants to make that secondary a lot bigger, you have to reverse the roles. So you got to put that business in front and be a primary, and then make your job secondary. So for me, I actually couldn't do that. I couldn't do that. I had to have one or the other. I couldn't have both, because I always felt like I always had that safe zone or something to fall back into. And like he said, 31 jobs in 17 years. The problem is I didn't want to have that option anymore to fall back into, because I knew that when I went back into another entry-level job, that I would just keep doing it over and over and over again, and I would get stuck in this repetitive cycle where I knew I wasn't going to be happy. I've in 31 jobs in 17 years, believe me, I didn't find passion for myself. I didn't find purpose. I didn't want to climb the corporate ladder. So I knew that after 31 jobs, nothing was there for me. And I've done tons of different jobs. Tons of it. You name it. I delivered bread. I cut meat in a meat cutting business. I knocked on doors. I was a process server. I've sold vacuum cleaners before, which is not really a job, but still you're doing commissions. I mean, that's just one of the things. Delivered groceries. I've driven a school bus. I've delivered mail. I've done a lot of things, and it's a lot of entry level jobs, but nothing was sticking. Nothing just was changing me like this industry does. So talking about having that primary and secondary, if you can do that, good for you. Have that focus of like, okay, be at your job and be, at your job, and then maybe take that time for lunch to quickly eat your food and then go make a Facebook Live and share the value that you've been learning like the night before. Or, after work, you can be with your kids if you have kids, or do what you got to do after work, and then spend the hour that you can, or the half hour to absorb that information and then share that the next day. You know, have that plan. Just have something simple, just something to hold on to, because it does take a lot of commitment, and you're not going to see a lot of, I guess, results, right, Dave? Because you taught me a video YouTube strategy where I wasn't seeing results, and I actually can find, I'm like, dude, I mean, how long do I have to keep doing this? And you know what I mean? It's like, you know, just keep going, keep going, keep going. And I'm glad I did, because first of all, I got better at videos. But once I kept going and I was committed to that process because it worked for Dave, I was committed to that process, and I finally saw results. And that's when I finally was able to be on the leaderboards of that company, and then just started getting results and people joining my business. And it's just like, wow, this really works. And this is amazing. It's like, even though I probably could have at the beginning make a lot more money at a 9-to-5 job, right? It's just, I knew that it was a stuck place and I wasn't happy. So I knew that I would have a lot more freedom in running my own show and that kind of thing. And I do want to say that I am not saying, if you are happy where you're at and you love your job, just like Wade, you know, he owns his own clinic. He loves what he does. And I applaud him for that. He's living the dream most people want, right? He's doing what he loves, but he's also doing something on the side. He chose his primary and his secondary. That's fine. If it becomes a lot more, which it is, he can open up another clinic. That's just what he does. So what I'm saying is that if you have a job and you're happy, that's awesome. There's nothing wrong with having a job. It's just not for me. I just didn't find any joy in it. So what I'm saying is that the commitment, you have to absolutely have that commitment and say, either I'm going to do this, or if it's a maybe or you're not sure, then you're going to have to get with the commitment and just actually sit down. Why was it so exciting for me in the first place? You know, what attracted me to me this? You know, sometimes you have to step back and figure out why it attracted you in the first place, right? You know, so I just wanted to
you know, I mean, you raise an interesting point, and I will say that there are two factors that really get you moving. There are two factors that really get you moving, and the one is pleasure and the one is pain. And unfortunately, pain is the thing that really gets you going. Pain is the thing that really, really motivates people. If you're sitting on a steel seat and you heat it up, and you heat it up, and you heat it up until it's red hot and you can't sit anymore, you're going to move off the seat. But if you sit on that seat and I ask you to please move, it's not going to get you off. The only way you're really going to get off that seat if you ignite that seat and make it red hot. Pain is the only thing that really helps you move forward. And this is why I say you need to flip that switch. And if you're in a situation where your life is kind of okay, because from the outside looking in, things are kind of all right, you need to change the way that you see that. And this is why you see a lot of stories. And we know all about a guy that was living on a beach. He was homeless. He didn't have anywhere to go. He was in dire straits where his situation was bad. I know of another lady who lived in her car for over a year before she started to change things, because her situation was so bad she had to make a change. And in my situation, when I first got started, I didn't have a full-time job. I didn't have any way of getting money in. So I needed to go and find work. And I looked everywhere. I couldn't find work. I even tried to get a job at McDonald's. They wouldn't take me. I have no idea why, but they wouldn't take me. So I went and I asked a buddy of mine if I could work for him. You know, that's humiliating to be able to go to a friend and say, hey, man, could I please be your slave for however long it takes so that I can get some money so I can put it into my business. He gave me a job and I used that money and I started working for him full time. But a switch needed to be flipped. You know, you need to understand. Take a look at your life right now. Take a look at where you are right now. And ask yourself this question. Are you living the life you want to? Are you living a life that you really want to? Take a look at the job that you're in right now. Are you working for somebody at 9 to 5 when you've got to go in from Monday to Friday, where you've got to watch the time? because you need to go to bed at a certain time so you can get a certain amount of hours in, so you can get up the next morning and get in your car, go to work, and then work with people that you don't really enjoy being around with anyway. You know, and then you've got to look, the only thing you really look forward to is your tea break or your lunch break. And then after lunch, now you've got to sit through a whole bunch of hours so that you can just get off and go home. And then you've got to start that cycle again. I want you to think about your life and what you're going to be doing for the next how many years in the future. Are you really satisfied with what you are living right now? And you need to think about that. You need to think about how your life is right now. Maybe that is the motivator. Maybe that is the thing that's going to change your life. And I've said this before. I've told this story before where I was at a party where I had to go, and I was invited, and unfortunately the situation was I had to go. So the only amount of money I had, I decided I was going to buy myself a Coke and hold that Coke for 4 hours during this party and just sip on it one on one. Just sip this Coke until 4 hours. It's going to be the longest drink I've ever had in my life. I arrive at this party and I started to sip this Coke, right? And then a buddy of mine comes up to me. He shakes my hand, pulls me close, and he actually gives me money and says, "Dave, this is from me and my wife. We want you to have this money, and because we want you to have a good time." They already knew my situation, but I remember feeling so bad. That trigger, that I never wanted to feel that again, and I never have. But that situation plagued in my mind for such a long time that when I started to work and I started to get into my business, I remembered why I wanted to move forward. And it was because I never wanted to be in that position again. And sometimes we have to remember how bad our life is in the situation where we're going to be. That's the only thing that's going to move us forward. And that's where commitment comes from. That's where commitment goes to. And I'm sure it applies in every part of life. You know, you can either choose to be a parent or you can choose not to be a parent. If you have kids, now you got to choose to raise these kids, and you got to be committed to it every single day. My friend, he was a father with his kids, was very honest with me once. He sat me down and he said, "Dave, every morning I've got to get up and I've got to make my kids breakfast. I don't want to, but they're not going to make it. I have to make it for them. And if they don't do it, they're going to starve. So I have no choice." And you know what? He just does it every day. Now, I want to share a little bit of a trick with you guys. It's called the Pomodoro method, if I'm saying it correctly. If you're struggling to get into your business, or you're struggling to actually do work, I want you guys to go out and find yourself an egg timer. All right, go on Amazon or buy an egg timer, go and find one. And then when you are ready to work, I want you to get rid of all distractions, and I want you to put this egg timer down, and I want you to click it over to 25 minutes. And then in 25 minutes, I want you to work as hard as you can work within that 25 minutes. When that egg timer goes bing, what I want you to do is I want you to stop, and I want you to take a 5-minute break. After 5 minutes, you go back, you take the egg timer up for another 25 minutes, and you start working. Could be 25, 10-minute break, 15, 10-minute break. The point is you need to start doing that. And what will happen over a period of time is your brain will start making you realize, hey, after work comes reward. After work comes reward. After work comes reward. And you will find that it'll be easier for you to work once you have that egg timer going. And actually, this was one of the strategies my mentor, Ryan, shared with me whenever I wanted to get something done. He said, get an egg timer, set it to a certain amount of time, and let it go and work. You do that on a regular basis, and I promise you, you are going to have radical change in the way that you do business. And if you do it long enough, you'll find that you'll extend that 25 minutes to 35 minutes, to 45 minutes, to an hour, to 2 hours. Because believe me, when somebody says to me they've worked all day, I know what that means. All right, you go and sit down at your computer, you're about ready to get started, and then you think, you know what, I could really use a cup of coffee. So you go and you make yourself a cup of coffee. Then you get your cup of coffee, you sit down, and then you're about to start working. You say, you know what, I can really use a smoke break now. Then we're going to have a smoke break. So you go and step aside for a 5-minute smoke break, you come back, and then oh, my coffee's cold. Okay, let me go and warm up the coffee. So you go and heat up the coffee, and you come back and you put it down, and you take a sip. Man, that is way too hot. Let me get an ice block. And you just extend, and then you're busy watching, and suddenly you see something on YouTube, or you see something on Facebook. This is why you need to get focused. All right, forget the coffee, forget the smoke break, just get down and do the work. There's no easy way. People say, what's the formula? And I say, it's commitment. You need to be committed. So many people today, believe it or not, for some reason or other, are allergic to doing things on a regular basis. And I think it's because of society, honestly. Oh, Katie, what do you think? Well, we get so distracted with so many things on demand.
Yeah. I'm actually reading some of my notes that I've taken like a long time ago, which is nice. So I've been kind of putting them in the comments there, and I wanted to read a couple of them. Well, there's always a reason to quit, but if your dream is strong enough, there's always reason to stay. And then I like what Don Sears says, is that your why equals commitment, and commitment equals whatever it takes. But as far as being distracted, I wanted to tell you that just a couple of weeks ago, for a good solid week, I kid you not, I deleted Facebook off my phone. Completely deleted it off my phone. And what I realized is all of a sudden my focus was laser. Pops could tell you, laser focused. I was actually in the conversations. I found out that instead of trying to catch up to like getting notifications and catching up to comments, you know, and being present on Facebook, that being a Facebook girl, that's important. However, I just took that week to test it out. But I found reasons to get a hold of people and follow up with people that I haven't talked to in a while. It was amazing. But I didn't delete Messenger, the Messenger app, because, you know, we had Hangouts and stuff, and our chat group chats and stuff. But the reason why I took off Facebook initially is because it's distracting to me. Because it could be an OCD thing where I see a little notification and I got to go clear it, and it always bugs me, right? So I completely got it off my phone. So I do encourage you, if something is distracting you, then get rid of it and commit to yourself to a strategy that you're taught either in one of the trainings that we offer. Okay, and if you haven't done that, then why? I need to ask, why haven't you at least, because a lot of people would probably do it for like maybe 5 days and not see any results, and then they're like, well, I guess it's not working. So I mean, that's just I remember actually asking Dave when he was telling me about a strategy, and I was asking, well, how long should I do it? And they usually say to do 21 days it takes to establish a habit. But I realized that after 21 days, actually before 21 days, you lose count, and you just like get used to it. It becomes a new habit anyways, because you decided to do it anyways. You're committed, that it doesn't matter. Exactly what Dave says, do it until you're dead, because you have to decide. You know, I don't plan on retiring ever from this industry because it's so amazing that I love what I do. I'm always going to be in this space because it's so awesome. You get to meet so many great people and learn new things and realize skills you had when you were back then that are coming up, and it will just make you even more awesomer. You know, it's just such a cool industry. So yeah,
it's amazing. I mean, there are so many times, you know, I wish for some reason I could encapsulate everything I did and put it in a box and then give it to people and say, this is exactly what I did. But the truth is that I became so laser focused on what I was doing that everything else became a blur. I mean, I was doing things, I still did the things I needed to do as a person, but you know, it came to a point where I was missing out on things. And I honestly, if you speak to anybody that went from 0 to success, they will tell you they cut a lot out of their lives. They cut a lot out of their lives because they were so determined to get something done. It became their whole world. And what's even interestingly about this whole process is that if you speak to billionaires, people like, you know, Steve Jobs, You speak to people like, Dan Pena. You speak to those guys who are high performance people. All right, they kind of nowhere near the way we are. These people miss out on Christmas, miss out on birthdays, miss out on New Year's, miss out on Easter. They miss out on everything because they are so laser focused. Now, I'm not saying you have to do that. That's not what I'm saying. But the principle applies that if you want to get something done, you need to be laser focused, which means for the time being, and as Pat said, I was watching the intro video and he made a very interesting point. He said, if it takes you 3 years, who cares? If it takes you 5 years, who cares? At least when you get to that point, you are now at the point where you want to be. And before I was successful, before I was in the position I was in, and I was working these crummy jobs that I was in, and believe me, I worked in some real stinkers. There is no way on earth that I could have stayed in that place for 20 years. There's no ways. There's no ways. There's no ways I could do it because I got so bored. I got so bored, and I've always been like that my entire life. I've never really gone to any tertiary education. I've always been a C type person. I've been a 50s kind of guy in school. I've never really gotten an A for anything. All right. I failed at just about everything I did, including gym. I failed everything. We had metalwork. I failed metalwork and woodwork and everything. I was terrible at school, terrible. And I just wanted to do something different with my life. And you got to go fill out a CV, and you got to go in for a job interview, and you got to, oh my goodness me, and that type of life is not for me. And now it's even worse. There's no ways I could work for anybody else. I am psychologically unemployable. I can't do it. All right, there's no ways you can get me to go and work for somebody. I need to want to do it. I need to want to do it, which is an irony because I am committed far more now than I was at any other job I did. You know, I do about 3 hangouts a week. 3 or 4 hangouts a week. I was on an interview yesterday. No one paid me for that. I volunteered my time because I love what I do. But the pain and sweat and tears that I went through to get to the position where I am now was no joke. I have lost friends. I have lost friends over what I've done. And what's interesting about that is that my real friends, the ones that really stick with me, are the ones that have stayed. And it's not many. I had loads of friends, but now I know who my real friends are, the ones that really stick with me. And I have an amazing family online, an amazing community. So that is my push to you. All right. I want you to ask yourself, are you really happy with where you are right now? And the interesting thing is that we have an amazing system that we're all part of. My Lead System Pro is one of them. Peer Profit Pro is another one. There are so many of them that we involved in. And I'll give you a good strategy you can use. When you start going through these systems, every time, listen to me, every time you find out something new, share it with the world. If you do that every single time, and I say share it with the world, I'm saying you do it in the form of a blog post or a video. Share something with the world. And keep on doing it on a consistent basis. I promise you this, you will get results in your online business. You will, without a doubt. But the big irony about every time I share something or a strategy with people online is this, that nobody does it. Everybody kind of, yes, assumes, okay, that's a good idea, let's do it. I'll ask them 2 weeks later if they've done it, and they'll say, no, I haven't had time. Haven't had time. And we all know what that means, right? We all don't have time. But my big thing is, unless you're working for NORAD or 24-hour missile watch, you have time. I know parents with 10 kids that are still doing online businesses because they are committed. Everybody has time. Everybody can find time to do their business. The only real question is, are you really willing to do your business? All right. And I don't care what it is. I can take a crummy system with everything I know and I can make that work because of everything I've learned. Don't blame the system. Don't blame the system because that isn't going to be what it's all about. You need to be committed and you need to flip that switch so that you can be committed to your own business. Katie,
Yes.
I've run out
I
of
just have
stuff to
something.
say. My mouth is dry.
Okay, go and get your drink that you're supposed to get from the beginning of this program.
I'm fine.
But I do want to share some more of my notes, if that's all right with
Sure.
everybody. I got
Sure.
this written down as 5 powerful habits to taking action every single day. Number 1 is when you're taking action, focus only on the process. So that means take rid of all the distractions. Delete that Facebook. It'll be there when you get back. All right, I know this. All right, number 2. I actually deleted all the other social medias too. All of it. Instagram, Pinterest, all gone off my phone. Number 2 is remember why you're taking action, even though it's easier not to take action. You guys hear that? It's easy not to. You're comfortable in your comfort zone, but once you get out of that comfort zone, you're going to realize that that comfort zone wasn't all that comfy. Okay? You're gonna love it. Number 3 is remember that you don't want to hurt your self-esteem. So whatever you're doing, let me see if I can read my handwriting. During your day, send signals back to you about what kind of person you are. Okay, so don't hurt your self-esteem. Say that, hey, I got this blog post out. You should celebrate that, right? So little accomplishments. All right, so number 4 is take smaller steps on the days when the big ones seems too daunting. Okay, you don't have to grind every single day. That's the one thing I think it's funny when I was addicted to Facebook. People would always say, rise and grind. I'm like, yeah, rise and coffee? Grind my coffee? I mean, because you're not grinding every single freaking day. You hustle, that's fine. But you gotta take care of yourself. Number 5 is celebrate what you did today. Okay, if you're feeling guilty that you didn't really do anything today, ask yourself, well, what could I have done? Because what Dave was just saying about finding time and doing time in your business, if you are feeling like you absolutely have no time, what can you do? If you have those 10 kids, are they old enough to do the dishes? Outsource those jobs. Are they old enough to do the laundry? Maybe delegate them to do that or something. But if you feel like you don't have enough time, what could you replace that time for your business that you can maybe get rid of, like, say, knock off a half hour of TV, right? Or get TiVo. My sister has TiVo. She could fast forward through the commercials. You could still watch your programs, get rid of half hour worth of commercials gone.
Completely.
And what's that?
I was saying knock out TV completely, get rid of that box.
Definitely.
Box.
But we gotta take baby steps. I understand that people love their shows, but I'm trying to I'm trying to give them a solution, just something so they can kind of get themselves out of it. If you're cold turkey and you can do that and you're strong enough to do that, that's fine. Do it. Get rid of TV like I did. I'm done. Here's why I got rid of TV, is because I was sick and tired of watching other people live their lives, their dream lives, and me sitting there watching them do it. That's what woke me up. I'm like, why am I sitting on this couch when they're doing what they want to do and I'm not doing what I want to do? Hello. So if you are the type of person that just loves their shows, I understand that. I'm not trying to say get rid of them, because they will be there when you get back. I promise you. You can find them on YouTube. You can blah, blah, blah. You don't have to be the first one to watch it. And be the first one on Facebook saying, have you seen this? What's going to happen to this episode? Blah, blah, blah. But anyways, so those are the 5 things. I hope you guys got that. But to take action and just to find the time. Like I like to say, Dave, if this is okay, you can say if this is okay or not. But I like to say it just a little bit different than what Pat says. Is that I like to think of your business as a job. Like, if you don't show up, you don't get paid, right? You treat it like a business where you take action, you take responsibility. But on the flip side, you could treat it like a job where you have to write maybe a schedule, or you have to say, if I don't show up, no one's going to be there to pay me. And that means you have to talk to people. You have to get out there, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, the whole idea behind treating your business like a business is the fact is that you are now in charge. You are now the one that has to actually make it happen. And also treating it like a job is also maybe a way of looking at it, because if you don't show up, how's anything going to be done? And, you know, that is ultimately what it comes down to, is that people don't show up. And you know what? I know that, you know, Katie is a lot more nicer than I am when it comes to this. And I'm an extreme person. I am an extreme person. That's just who I am. I know that Pat's the same way. I don't know if Katie's all that extreme, although she can be. I'm sure she can. I mean, she deleted her entire Facebook, so I'm sure she shares in that. But I want you to understand something. If you want to stand up above the rest, if you want to be somebody who's going to be seen, you need to be different. You need to stand out. And that means taking extreme cases. So, you know, Katie was saying cut out a little TV and everything like that. I'm saying get rid of TV altogether. All right, that's me. Because if you really want to, I mean, it's like I went on this diet, right? I went on this not diet, but a juice cleanse, and I decided that I was going to do it. And some people do it for like 3 days. They do this juice cleanse for like 5 days. I decided, hell with that. I'm doing it for a month, 28 days, 4 weeks. I'm going to do it. I'm not going to eat a thing for 4 weeks. And I did this thing. But as a result, I got extreme results. If you don't take extreme action, you cannot expect extreme results. If you want to take meteor action, you're going to get meteor results. Does that make sense? Does that make sense, everybody watching? You need to take extreme action. And I just wanted to say hello to people that are watching. I know that Joe Mack is watching as well. Joe, just want to welcome you as well, and everybody else that's on here. And Jamie, thanks, buddy. And Jamie, you know, Jamie said we got your back, and I just wanted to first of all explain what he meant there. You know, I wasn't available on Monday and for my hangout, and Katie and Jamie took that, and I could rest in the fact that they were taking over what I couldn't do. And this is what we do in this industry. We have each other's back because we have a community, and community helps with commitment as well. If you are in a community, you have a plethora of help around you. And it's like Pat, he can't make it. And Pat just reached out to me and said, hey, Dave, could you do the hangout? And I'm like, absolutely, Pat, not a problem, because we've got each other's back. And this is what we do. You know, we have each other's back in this industry when somebody else can't do it. And so, look, I want to tell everybody here that you need to flip that switch. You need to be committed. Find something in your life that's going to give you motivation. And take some time to think about it. Take some time to think about a reason why you want to take action. And every time you are in a situation where you feel that you can't move forward, I want you to take that memory, maybe write it down on a piece of paper and put it on your wall, and look at the reason why you want to get started in your business and get into action and get over yourself. Get over yourself. All right. Stop living stop living in a situation where you're afraid. Get over yourself. Understand that there is nothing to fear except fear itself. Who said that? Who said there's nothing to fear except fear itself? Was that Kennedy? I think it was Kennedy. Pops would know.
I'll ask Google if you want.
Yeah, ask Google. I'm sure somebody would know. Maybe Joe McKenzie would know.
I think it was JFK.
I think it was JFK, but there's nothing to fear except fear itself. And we make things bigger in our minds than they really are. All right? You need to understand that ultimately you just need to get stuck into your business. You need to get stuck into it. You've got a whole system in front of you. Why don't you just take a day or take half a day and just get stuck into it and go through all the steps that they have and start learning? And remember, every time you learn something new, share it with the world. Share it on YouTube. Share it on Facebook. Share it on Twitter. Write to your email list. Share something that you discovered. The problem is that we don't. Everybody goes, wow, that's amazing. Oh, that's great. But we don't absorb that information and share it with the world. You should be a boomerang. Are you a boomerang? You know, are you throwing out information into the world where it can bounce back? Are you doing that? Or are you just sitting there like a big sponge, taking it all in, and it's just wasting away. Are you a boomerang? Are you actually putting it out there into the world? Because if you throw it out, it'll come back to you. But in this case, you'll get a bigger boomerang, which you can throw out, and you can make a bigger V. So do yourself that favor. Start making huge changes. Change your life. Make your life bigger than what it really is. I guarantee you that Pat, one of the reasons Pat is so successful is because he lives in a world that's bigger than he is. But in his case, he becomes bigger than his world. And he does everything in extremes, everything in big chunks, because he wants to get it done. And he does things a little different to me and a little bit different to Katie, but he does it in big chunks, and he does things in extremes. Take that and follow in that footsteps, and don't live a mediocre life. Start living in an extreme life. All right? Don't go, I'm not saying go and do an extreme sport to kill yourself. Go and live in the extreme world of who you are. Become the best version of who you are you can be. I'm just looking at the
if I want to share, I want to share another piece of my note. My notes. This is what's so cool. I have a plethora. That's my favorite word, Dave. So thank you for saying that. I have a plethora of notebooks that I always like to go back and kind of read things. And this is amazing. I don't know where I was when I wrote this down, but I want to read it to you right now. I said, occasionally we encounter someone with an incredible passion, and we wonder what makes them different. And we go over our own sense of inspiration, and we might think that I have to read my handwriting. Oh, that was so good until I can't read my handwriting. We think that our own passion can be the result of something that is simple as an idea, a powerful idea. Hang hour? I'm so sorry. But you guys get the idea. In reality, in reality, those with a drive to take out, like their passion, their enthusiasm stems from a deep understanding to rise above typical and be exceptional. So once someone is exposed to the idea, it transforms their behavior. So I don't know, anybody in the comments wants to go ahead and let me know. Like Don, he said he was building his house. He put I want to know. Put it in the comments if there was an idea that came in your head and you're like, holy crap, that's brilliant. And then you just like want to do something about it, right? If you guys had that inspiration, if you have had that and you know that feeling, and that can happen in your business as well, over and over and over and over again, and all of a sudden you feel like you have so many ideas you don't know what to do with, and you have so much to act on, this is another good reason to have paper and pen. Millennials, please go to your older generations and find out what a paper and pen is. Okay, so what you need to do is write these ideas down, because you can actually come back and rekindle these ideas and make something out of it, right? So as like what Dave was saying, as you're going and you're writing stuff down and you're learning something new, there could be 3 things you learned that night. And then you have 3 pieces of content that you can actually share the next 3 days. And you can kind of build up on that. And if you don't mind me saying, Dave, there's actually a secret that we do for these hangouts that we kind of build up content. So in case something happens like tonight, we have something to talk about. We can just go back to our notes and say, you know what, we're going to go over this tonight. And and we're going to talk about that. So it's always good to have like a backup content and always have a plethora of content.
Yes. And this is true. And I'll tell you one, and Katie's right. For those of you who love taking notes and who can write notes that are legible, I know that Katie's notes are pretty legible. I've seen them before. But let me tell you, first of all, one of the reasons, you see, if you ask Pat, he'll tell you he doesn't take notes. He doesn't write anything down. And there's a very good reason he doesn't write everything down. People say, why is it that Pat doesn't take notes, but he's still successful? It's because Pat does everything instantly. You give him something new, and he's on it like that. I remember talking to him about Facebook Live, and I was saying, Pat, have you seen this Facebook Live thing? He says, what's that? So I said, well, you can pick up your phone and you can go and make a live thing right now. He says, really? So he picks up his phone and he presses the button and he says, is this, oh, I'm live. And he starts talking on the phone immediately. Now, you could, if you want, to say, all right, I can get my phone out, go to the app, and then write this down and click on the button. And okay, all right, great. That's a nice piece of note I'm going to use for next day. And then tomorrow comes and you've forgotten about it. Pat does everything instantly. And I have notes as well. I'm not a big note taker, but I think I've got 5 books like this with notes inside of it because I've had to force myself to write things down because I forget very easily. But every now and then, I'll go back to my notes and I'll read my hieroglyphics that I've written down, and I will decipher what it is that I wrote, and I will use that to do something new. But I'm not a big note taker myself, but I understand that there are so many tools that we can use. And this whole thing about building your business online is taking your passion, right, and sharing it with the world. All right, so do something simple. In the beginning, when you want to get started, I'll give you some practical things you can do to get started, is to start a YouTube channel and share with people who you are. Say, hey, my name is Dave. I live in South Africa. I live in a tiny place called Pound Town. My favorite color screen. Just tell people who you are. Make a couple of videos about that. Tell people about your principles, what you stand for, what you don't, the things that drive you crazy, just share that with the world. Just share that. And then with your business, you can actually take your link and you can put it down below and say, hey guys, one of the things I do is and you can tell people about your business. This is a strategy you can use inside of your business. It really does work. People often ask me, why is it that when people contact me, I get signups or I get people that buy my products and they stick with it all the time? I'll tell you why. Because I have so many videos out there about commitment. I have so many videos about sticking to something. I have so many videos about personalities and how to deal with anger, how to deal with depression, how to deal with being consistent. So when people find my YouTube channel, they go through about 10 videos. They reach out to me and say, Dave, I really like what you got. Can you please share it with me? I'd like to buy that product. And they buy the product, and I have a customer for just about life. All right, I don't have many people coming through my business and leaving because I have videos talking about what it means to have stickability, what it means to stay with it, what it means to be encouraged, how it is to carry on, how to use YouTube, how to use a strategy where you can get traffic onto your website. I have all of that. That's something you can do, and that is a strategy you can take to the bank. It absolutely works. So we are almost at the top of the hour, and I always like sticking to an hour. This is my thing. I love sticking to an hour. I don't like going over the hour, and I want you guys to understand that if you go over, you can actually catch the Deep Abyss that's actually showing right now with Diane Hockman. She's an 8-figure earner, so you definitely want to get on that and listen to what she has to say. Katie, any last words before we sign off?
What I wanted to say is just, I hope something, if anything stuck in your mind today, was just remember that it's easy not to. And yeah, it's just easy not to. Just if you have any questions, reach out to any of us. If you not sure which direction to go or maybe what strategy to hang on to, maybe we'll ask you a few questions and send you off in the right direction. Simple as that.
Yes, absolutely.
Just to try something.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And this is true for all of us here, myself, Katie, Pops, Jamie, Pat Patterson. If you reach out to us and ask what it is you need to do, we will tell you. But it probably will be something that you'll be like, oh, really? I got to do work? And if that's the case, then you might be put off it. But we will tell you exactly what you need to do because we've been there. All right? And this is what it is about following people who have been there before. All right? If you listen to mentors, as I've said, this, my 5 pillars for success: listen to mentors, spend time in your business, invest in your training so you can learn, get involved with the community, and use systems that work. If you do that, you will reach success without a doubt. There's no question. All right? It's just a matter of time before you get there and how committed you're going to be. So get sick of it, become really, really angry and decide, you know what, I'm going to make this work no matter what. My exit strategy is going to be a tombstone. I am going to do this until I die. That's exactly what I said when I first got started. My buddy said to me, you know, you should try this out for like 6 months, and if it doesn't work out, then just leave it, you know. And I said, are you kidding? Are you out of your mind? I have done that so many times. I am going to do this until my last breath. I am going to do this until I am dead. And that's the attitude you need to take. It might be harsh, it might be strong, but honestly, that's exactly what I did. And I did everything I possibly could, because now I'm financially independent. I don't need to work for a boss. I can sleep whenever I want to. I can go out whenever I want to. I can go on holiday whenever I want to, because I decided to work my backside off for 2 years to get the momentum I needed to succeed. And that meant I skipped out on everything. I didn't go out. I didn't see friends. I didn't go to parties. I didn't do that. I stuck myself on my seat, glued my mind onto what I needed to learn, and I did it. All right, it's that simple. There's no magic formula except committing yourself and flipping that switch, getting angry enough to actually do it. So with that being said, we're going to say goodbye. Remember, same Pat time, same Pat channel. We'll see you next week. You have a great, great evening. Cheers.